Okay, I'll just explain how your muscle contracts. So I made a few diagrams. I'll introduce the cast. So we have actin filament, the blue color, and the dark blue are the binding spots. We have the green is tropomyosin, dark blue spots are troponin. We have calcium, we have a myosin head, we have ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and one floating around phosphate ion. So in the start, uh, tropomyosin is covering actin's binding sites, and it's just lying there like that. So myosin head is connected to phosphate, and it's looking for a binding site, but it can't because tropomyosin has covered everything. So your body suddenly says, "I want to start contracting," and then comes in calcium. When calcium comes in, it goes and attaches itself to troponin, which are these two blue spots. It attaches itself to that. Once it does that, the shape changes, and the binding sites are now open. And then myosin head can go and attach itself to a binding site. And when it does that, like a gun, basically, when the phosphate it shoots out and simultaneously it pulls. So actin gets pulled. So that's how your muscle contracts. And if it wants to continue contracting, right? So that's when ATP comes in. When ATP comes in, myosin head lets go of the binding site and holds on to ATP. When it holds on to ATP, adenosine triphosphate, 3-phosphase, it becomes adenosine diphosphate. This floats out. Phosphate comes and attaches itself to the myosin head, and it goes back to the same initial thing where it goes, attaches itself to a binding site, phosphate comes out and it pulls. So that's how your muscle contracts. And now let's say your muscle wants to relax. In the same case, we need ATP because we need myosin head to let go of the binding site. So when ATP comes in again, myosin head lets go of the binding site and holds on to ATP. ATP becomes ADP and floats away. A single phosphate is attached to myosin head, but in this case, because your body now says, "I want to relax," calcium goes back into its original place. So calcium is not required anymore. So when calcium goes back, tropomyosin comes back into its original form, and it covers all the binding sites again. So now the binding sites are closed, myosin head can't attach itself, and so actin moves all the way back to its original position, which is the relaxed position. And that's how your muscle contracts and relaxes.